Hi, this is Megan and Allison, and our project is metacognitive behavior tracking. So, the goal of this project is to develop a method to help students become better learners by helping them understand the way they learn, which is basically what metacognitive learning means. And then we want to see that evidenced by improved performance in coursework.
And then the motivation of our problem is that university students find it really hard to learn new material in courses, either because of the sheer amount of new information or the amount of work the class requires. So we want to help students understand how they learn so they can apply those strategies to their coursework to learn and achieve more.
Okay, so some of the goals that we have for this quarter is to identify effective self-regulated learning strategies. So like how students can basically teach themselves things and then establish how to teach these students to adopt those strategies, or for them to be able to visualize what works for them and what doesn't.
And so the work that we plan to do for this quarter would accomplish for the end users, which are our students, a prototype of a tool to help them understand how they learn and then how to help themselves learn better. And then for other people building off our technology, we'd want paper low fidelity prototypes of a UI based on the research we conducted. And then for other researchers, we want insight into students' knowledge regarding their own learning strategies and effective methods of influencing and possibly changing those strategies in order to improve performance.
Some of the design goals we have, so we think that our user problem is that self-regulated learning is really difficult and people don't always think that's effective. Students face a lot of challenges such as motivation, they don't have good course materials, sometimes they don't have friends in the class, or they don't have a mentor support. So they have to rely on themselves to learn, but they might not have the necessary strategies, and they might not know what works for them to do to learn the material effectively on their own.
So then our design argument, the problem statement is that students struggle to understand how they learn and how to improve their learning skills, which leads to decreased performance in coursework. So the stakeholders in this are students and researchers in the field. And we really want to see improved performance in coursework. And some challenges that we could face are difficult coursework, which is many hours of work and lots of new material.
We don't quite know what our arguments are yet, but we'll get on that.
We'll get there.
So our design process so far relies on a lot of student user testing and feedback. We want to basically see what strategy students already implement and then what they may not do as often. We want to come up with an initial prototype for tracking the students' learning process and make edits that align with their feedback.
So our timeline for this is sprints 1 and 2. We're going to try to figure out what behaviors we're trying to track through interviews and surveys and some other methods. For sprint 3 and 4, we want to come up with designs for systems that would address that problem. And then sprint 5, hopefully we'll have some preliminary prototypes created.
And then for user testing, we would want to ideally test on Northwestern students because they are our target audience. And then we could either ask our friends or bribe students with food, or if there's any other way. Yeah, that too.
Motivate people. Some of our technology goals are what we want our technology to do by the end of the quarter. We want to have a basic prototype, either paper or low fidelity, of the system we want to design. It's going to have UI. Well, the architecture ideally is going to have UI and backend. And depending on our findings from user interviews and research on effective learning interventions, we'll kind of build up the components from there.
And then lastly, some of our research goals is, so we want to answer, or some of the questions we want to answer would be what are effective strategies for self-regulated learning? Why are students not implementing self-regulated learning strategies? And what motivates students to learn new material? We think that these questions are important because we want to figure out what are the effective and the ineffective learning strategies that most students learn, or that most students use to learn, and as well as the areas that they struggle with the most.
And then our hypotheses are we really think that if students can better understand the way they learn, that will in the future lead to better comprehension of the material that they have and lead to better performance in the end in their courses. And if we see concrete and measurable improvement in their courses, usually through grades, as a result of understanding their learning strategies and maybe changing them, then we can confirm our hypothesis.
And that's all for our quarterly plan.
Yay!